This is Diane with 7 City Girl. Thank you for liking my channel and subscribing to it. The notification button, bell up there. That way you'll know when I have a new video coming out. Well, today I'm going to do meatball soup. And if you watched my video the other day of how I made my own chicken stock in the Instapot, that's what I'm going to use in my soup. If you don't have that, that's fine. You can use chicken broth that you can buy in the store if you want to. What I've already done is, for time's sake, because any of you that have made meatballs know that it takes a long time to put it together. But I've got my recipe here, and I'm going to tell you what I put in it. And I already have them rolled up, and I'm going to show you the size that I used. Okay? So I took a pound of ground beef, and this is the size that I rolled it in like that. Okay, and I have a few more left in there just to show you. You can make them a little bit bigger if you want to. It won't take you as long to do it, but I like to make them about that size because they do go far and gives the people a lot of little meatballs in their soup when they have it. Okay, so I've got my broth in here and my meatballs. In my meatballs, excuse me, you can look at the video too, the recipe down below. I'll have exactly, well, maybe not exactly, just follow the recipe. That way you'll know. Let me get it up here, get it down here. My computer's really messing up. I don't know what's going on with it here. Okay, so for the meatballs, I used 1 pound of 80%, 20% ground beef. The reason I used that much fat in it so that we could get some flavor in our soup. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. You could use 90, 95. You can use whatever you want, but that's what I used. So in my meatballs, I put 1 pound of ground beef, 1 egg, 3/4 cups of shredded Parmesan. You can use the package if you don't want the dry shredded. And I put 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon, take that down to 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 cup of, 3 tablespoons of dried parsley or 1 cup of fresh parsley, and 3/4 cups of cooked rice, or whatever leftover rice you have, flavored or not. You could use flavored chicken, any kind of rice that you have left over. Now here's a tip. On your rice, it's really better that you use rice that's already cooked in your meatballs. The reason you do that, because if you use raw rice in your meatballs, you know how the rice plumps up, and it absorbs all the water. Well, your rice is going to absorb a lot of the flavor from the meat. You don't want that in your rice. You want that in your soup. And you're going to lose some of the flavor if your rice is already cooked. If you want to do it that way, that's fine. You do it however you want to do it. I prefer to do cooked rice. So just like I said, you'll see the instructions down below. So I've got my my stock in here, and I think it was about 5 cups of stock that I got out of that Instapot chicken stock that I made, which is pretty good. And I added 3 cups of water so it wouldn't be so strong. And so in here, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of Mexican oregano. Now, I'm telling you guys, Mexican oregano is so different from the regular oregano that you're going to buy in the store. If you start using Mexican oregano, I can guarantee you won't stop using it. It has such a different flavor and is so good. I mean, try it. I think you'll like it a lot better than just the regular oregano. So I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of dried Mexican oregano. Now, when I do this, I'm going to make sure I crush it up really good. Oh my gosh. Just the smell of this, guys, is just so good. Okay, so there we got about our tablespoon of dried oregano. Now we're going to use, I have down 3/4 of a large can of Hunt's Petite tomatoes. I did not have that. So I opened up a can of whole tomatoes. And look at my glasses on, I'll tell you what size this is. I'm not going to put this whole can in there, it's pretty big. This is 28 ounces of Hunt's whole tomatoes. Okay? Now I'm going to take out, since these are whole tomatoes like this, I'm going to take out about half of them. And we're going to use about half of them in there, and that's it. But I am going to pour all of the juice from that can in here. Okay? So we're going to do that. Now when you look at my recipe, it's going to tell you 3/4 of a large can of Hunt's Petite tomatoes. So you could either use those or use this. It's up to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dice these up since I don't have the dice. So I'm just going to kind of chop them up. I love tomatoes in my soups and my stews and stuff that I make like that. I really like tomatoes in that. Okay, so I've chopped those up. I'm going to put those. I've got my Presto cooker is what I'm using to make my soup in. And I'm going to turn it on to about 200 so I can start cooking those meatballs. You can cook it in whatever you want to. I wouldn't use the Instapot because it's really hard to tell how long to cook it so your meatballs don't fall apart. I'm sure you guys have made lots of soup before and you have a soup pot that you use. Okay, now I'm going to use, I'm going to get out of sequence here. I'm going to use 1 can of Rotollia tomatoes with green chili. You guys know how I like Rotollia tomatoes with green chili. I'm going to use 1 whole one of that. This does have a little bite to it, not much. If you want a little bit more of a bite to this, add your 2 cans of this. Okay, so there's that. Now we're going to add, it's been a long time since I made this, you guys, so I'm looking at my recipe. Now we're going to add, okay, we got our broth in there. We're going to add 1/2 of a can of corn. Any kind of corn, I just happen to have Great Value. You're going to add the juice first. So hold your hand over there, get all your juice out. Then you're going to add about 1/2 of a can of the corn. You don't want the whole can, it might be too much corn. Unless you really want the corn, go ahead and do it. Okay. Now we're going to add some of our mini bell peppers. Okay, now hold on a second. We're going to stop right there. Right now what I'm going to do, just now realize, I don't want to put my peppers in, my celery, or my other vegetables in until the meatballs get done. And the reason of that is because your vegetables might get too done and they might be too mushy. We don't like really mushy vegetables. If you like them, then put them in after a little bit before your meatballs are done. But I'm going to let our meatballs cook first. So right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut up these little peppers. Okay, you know, these little mini peppers. If you have regular big red or yellow peppers, that's fine. I can't eat green peppers because they upset my stomach a lot, so that's why I don't use them. And I'm going to cut up 1 yellow squash. Okay. I'm going to cut up 1 zucchini. I'm going to cut up 2 celery stalks. And this is almost a whole onion in my tinfoil. I'm going to cut this up. Do you guys remember when I've told you, if you wrap your onions in tinfoil like this, like I did, you're not going to smell them in the refrigerator. I guarantee you. It's really good stuff. Okay, So let me chop all of these up, and I'll come back and I'll show you how I chopped them up. Okay? Okay guys, I've got all the vegetables cut up, and I basically just kind of rough chopped them. You know, like the zucchinis, I did them like that size right here. Carrots, I just kind of rough chopped whatever. Just, you know, cut them up however you want them. Just keep in mind, make them uniform so that they're all cut pretty much the same, so that when they cook, they'll cook evenly. And just dump them in here. I have yellow, purple, and orange carrots. I have 1 yellow squash, 1 zucchini, 1 onion chopped up. I have about 8 little baby bell peppers, 6 to 8. The red, the orange, and the yellow. I have 2 stalks of celery, and that's pretty much it. Sometimes I'll put green onions in here, but I didn't have any. Now this is a huge pot of soup, you guys. And I mean big pot of soup. This is going to last us for a couple of days. I mean, it's got a lot. Now remember when I said you can make your meatballs a different size. Now if you make them this size, right here, this is going to go far in this soup. And the meatballs are already done. The broth is pretty much done. Now I've got my vegetables in here, and I am not going to cook them very long at all. I'm going to cook them to where they're just kind of al dente-like, to where they have a little bite to them. But you cook them how you want to cook yours. We do not like mushy vegetables. Now I'm going to season the broth a little bit, and I want to back up and tell you that don't follow what I told you earlier on the meatballs, because I made a mistake and put too much pepper in there. Now my son's going to love it. But there is a little bit too much pepper in the meatballs, so just look at the recipe below, and you're going to find out the exact measurements to put in here, or do it to your taste. You know, we all have different tastes. So right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to season up our broth, because we did not season the broth. We just seasoned the meatballs, and the meatballs might have seasoned the broth a little bit, but we're going to season a little bit more. So, remember again, Mexican oregano. I'll tell you guys, that's where it's at. I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon crushed up Mexican oregano. Now you can put in more. Don't put in too much at one time. Put in just a little bit of each of this stuff and taste it. And then if you want more, then put more. Remember, you can always add more, but you can't take it out. The only thing I didn't add to this was potatoes. You can add potatoes if you want. This time I didn't put potatoes in here because I really don't have room. But potatoes are good in here. And if you want potatoes, I would cut up probably about 2 large potatoes and cut them up in just about the same size of chunks that you do your vegetables. You know, you can also use, you know, those little new potatoes that are in the cans that you can buy in the store. My husband loves those. You can also use those. If you were to use those, you can use the juice and all, take out the potatoes and cut them up about the same size of the vegetables. Now keep in mind they're already cooked. So you might want to add them, yeah, you want to add them after your vegetables are done, because really you just need to heat those up. Those don't need to be cooked. But that's a good idea too. I have used that, they taste good. Okay, so I just now put in 1 teaspoon crushed up Mexican oregano. I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. And I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, one thing I forgot to do earlier is tell you that about my garlic. Now, I did have garlic on that plate at the bottom. I put in probably about 4 cloves of garlic I cut up and put in there. Now, you guys know when you don't feel good, you don't cook good. Well, I kind of messed up this recipe a little bit. But if you just follow the recipe down below, it's going to be good, you guys. And it's really going to be good on a very cold night. So I hope you enjoy it. And I'm going to taste this real quick. The vegetables aren't done, but the meat is done. I'm going to see if I need to add a little bit more salt. No. I'm going to wait until all the vegetables are done. And then I might add a little bit more salt, maybe a little bit more cumin, I'm not sure. But like I said, add it to your taste. Remember, cumin, be really, really careful with that cumin, because the cumin it's a Mexican flavor, but it's a very rich Mexican flavor, so be very careful of how much you use in that. Okay, guys, that's it for my meatball soup. Please follow the directions below. Don't fix this until you really, really look at the directions there, because I messed up on the meatballs. Like I said, I put too much pepper in there. But you might like it like that. It's up to you. We're going to let our vegetables cook to well, they're almost done. And this is going to be our dinner for today and maybe lunch tomorrow. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And you can put your own twist on it, your own taste on it. This is a general idea of how I make my Mexican meatball soup. Like I said, add the salt, whatever you want to add to make it taste better. Well, guys, thanks again for watching my channel. Thank you for liking my channel, subscribing to my channel. And always be kind. Always forgive. It pays off, guys. It pays off. And always remember who you are. And God bless you. And remember, Jesus loves you. He always will. And He always does. Bye-bye, guys. Bye. Have a good day.